we're going to take a couple statements here. These are not necessarily, nobody freak out. These are not necessarily statements that I agree with. These are just questions. And are you buying or selling the statement? So, okay. Jane.
Bobby.
When Mike McCarthy says he wants to run the ball and add to that their identity, he wants it to be defense, what he's actually saying is he doesn't trust Dak Prescott.
Disagree. I think he's trying to help Dak Prescott. I think running the ball actually also helps your defense.
Sean?
Buy.
Oh, I have to pick buy or sell?
Yep. Well, I mean, you said disagree, so that was sell.
So I sell.
You sold it. I understand Jane's point. It could be that. But I think that this draft was taking my advice. I think that this draft was...
So this is your fault.
It's not going to be my fault. You're going to be thanking me when you don't get eliminated in the first round again by San Francisco. They getting a tight end that can definitely block. Adding to the defense. Let's go ahead and try to build this by not dropping the 40 burger and airing it out everywhere. We know that the quarterback has some limitations. Let's go ahead and try to win in a more balanced way. It may not necessarily be I would take it as an insult if I was Dak, because we all think that we're the best and we're all really, really good. But I'm hoping that the NFL draft was an acknowledgement that we cannot live and die on his right arm. We need the other side of the ball, and we need this run game.
I'm buying. I'm buying that's... If you are going to lean... You can't come out of the Green Bay barn, the PFF barn, talking about all the analytics you learned about and how you want to throw the ball and everything else, and historically be a pass-centric coordinator. Talking about like one of the guys who really was pushing the game forward with pass as much as he did in Green Bay, had success doing it. I don't think you can do all that, then say, I want to run the damn ball to win a championship and I want to lean on our defense.
So
That's
stop.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that there couldn't be some Dan Quinn influence here and that his game can't evolve? I mean, he's even talked about, an old dog essentially learning new tricks.
These are very old tricks. These are 30-year-old tricks, running the ball to win the title.
Well, look at last year. The NFL, we talked about how the NFL, for the most part, had become a passing league, and then we started to see more of a dedication to the run last year.
I think
in your division,
the way San Francisco runs the ball, the way they take advantage of certain matchups.
They're not traditionally running the ball either. They're using your backs as pass catching backs. They're catching it out of the backfield. Which,
if you look at the stats of, I think, I'm trying to remember who had this recently. It may have been Eric Eager, the Thomas Dimitroff group, Sumner Sports, who we interviewed at the Super Bowl, where if you put a running back in the slot or a receiver in the backfield, statistically over the last decade, the receiver in the backfield has given you more production. Like running backs as pass catching options are not as efficient as receivers.
What's Tony Pollard's number as a pass catching back?
I'd have to look it up.
Jane, let me ask you this from your own opinion or what you've heard. Like, if you were Mike McCarthy, or if you were a brand new coach with Dak Prescott today, what would be your number one area of improvement? His next step is, or the biggest thing that he should work on is what? What's missing the most?
I don't, this is going to sound like a cop-out, but I don't think any of them can make sense of it from last year, right? Because every time we talk to Dak, every time we talk to Mike, every time we talk to Kellen, I mean, even Dak would tell you last year, every game had a different story. So I don't think you can necessarily just put your finger on it. A lot of people that I've talked to seem to think that he was having to do a little bit too much of the line of scrimmage because of some of the issues they had on the offensive line. So I'm respectfully, Sean, I'm not backing out of the answer here, but I don't think
you're supposed to insult me.
But mostly because I think last year was such an outlier, right? Like we'd never seen him throw as many picks as he did last year.
That's my point, though. The fact that I think all the interceptions, the fact that Mike and Dak very publicly have disagreed on the option routes. Like, I think it just shows there is a difference fundamentally in how they think the passing game should go. So just on that alone, there is publicly, just when we look at the option routes, they have publicly inferred a lack of trust because he doesn't want the option routes in there.
Well, I also think when you listen a little, and again, this is just my opinion and some of my thoughts and based on some of the people I've talked to, it felt like there was a philosophical difference as related to how they were going to call the game and how maybe Kellen Moore thought they should be drawing up plays and how Mike McCarthy did
Yes.
some of that philosophical difference spill out in the football field, even just in the flow of the game.
Yes, absolutely it did. Next question here. Buy or sell, Sean? Jalen Tolbert and Kelvin Joseph should both be on the bubble heading into training camp.
I mean, Jalen Tolbert, I don't think should be on the bubble. Second year, but it's for different things, right? Like Kelvin, well, I guess he's bad too. Kelvin should be on the bubble. I'd like to give Jalen Tolbert one more year after this.
Buy
Both of them should be?
And here's why. You needed guys to step up last year at wide receiver and at corner.
Mm-hmm.
Deron Bland stepped up for you.
Yep.
You had to go out and get T.Y. Hilton to address your wide receiver concern.
Yep.
You had 2 guys on your roster, draft picks. They draft these guys to draft and develop, and you hope that when their number's called, they're ready to play. For whatever reason, we weren't calling Jalen, and I don't think we ever got really like a real set answer on why Jalen Tolbert wasn't utilized more last year. And Kelvin Joseph had his opportunities, and they literally went with Izzy, and they went with Deron.
I would say sell just because Kelvin Joseph should be on the bubble. Kelvin Joseph has been really bad. You've got too many corners right now, and it's year 3. It's time to figure this out. Jalen Tolbert, I would say sell because I don't think he should just be on the bubble naturally. If he comes in with the same issues they had last year as a rookie, which were not knowing where to line up, not understanding assignments, things like that.
It felt like I was hurt. It felt like he was given a lot, and maybe it was too much at times.
Right, and that's
into circles.
Exactly, triangles into circles, Kendrick Perkins. But that's why I say if that's a continued issue 1 year later, well, now we've got an issue. So it's kind of a caveat. If it's still that, yes, he should be on the bubble. If it's just he's not producing yet, but he's showing improvement in that area, I'd give it a little more time.
By the way, I think you tweeted this or someone sent it to you. Where's T.Y.?
Great question. It's my understanding in talking to his camp that he wants to be here with Dallas, but I think Dallas is waiting to see what they've got, heading into, obviously you've got, your camps coming up, you've got OTAs. I think they're going to be making a decision on what they need at receiver when we sort of get closer to camp. I think that's when we'll start figuring out, do they need T.Y.? I mean, ultimately, I don't think they want to bring in a free agent to help that room. I think they're hoping, and what's Simi Fioca's going to do next year? Are they converting him to tight end?
There was chatter about that at one point last offseason. I don't know. I mean, he's a big guy. He's a good athlete. I don't know what they're going to do with Fehoko. That'll be one of the things to watch once we get into OTAs is where he's lining up, who he's hanging out with.
But I think they want to see what they've got from their wide receivers right now. And I think the big thing is where's Michael Gallup's development going to be before they bring in a T.Y.?
All right, Jane, buy or sell. Barring injury, Chuma Edoga will be the starter at left guard in week 1.
No.
Sell?
Sell.
Who's going to start at left guard week 1?
I think it's going to be Tyler Smith.
Okay. So Tyron at left tackle, Terrence at right tackle?
Yep.
So you're not buying the Jerry negotiating line of Terrence Steele, he's our swing tackle.
No.
Sean?
Ugh. Brian Baldinger and Jane just now are swaying me because I had heard that they were going to do the smart thing and play Tyler at left tackle. And now you're making me rethink it with how emphatic you are. I'm going to buy it, though. I'm going to trust the initial thing I was told by somebody that. But were they negotiating with Terrence Steele when they did that? You trying to tick him off?
You saw how good they were with Terrence Steele and how much they struggled when they didn't have him there.
The question is,
those are your best 5.
Yeah, but here's my thing. Those are my best 5 for a day. Tyron Smith is going down.
Yeah.
That's happening.
Yeah.
So.
And Tyler has shown you how the fluidity with which he can quickly move to that position.
True. But I want my future piece to play and stay.
I think Brian brought up a great point, though. Why would you bring Tyron Smith then back? I mean, granted, it's important to have him for depth, but they're not going to bring Tyron back just for depth. That'd be like bringing Zeke back and saying, we're just keeping you on the roster for depth.
What's your answer to that?
I mean, insurance was possible. This one's really tough. This one, I don't know how they've played things out. My thought just from when we talked to Mike Solari on day 3 of the draft, when you talk to people around there, when you just add things up and look the way things are, I'm going to lean by that Edoga starting at left guard. I just think Tyler Smith is your left tackle of the future. I don't want to set that back. And Terrence Steele is better at right tackle. If Tyron Smith is starting next year.
Who's the starting left tackle?
Tyler to me.
No, but who will it be?
Tyler. With Edoga at left guard, that's my anticipation, is that Tyron would be the swing.
Now, let me give Jane a buy or sell. Zeke Elliott has a real chance of returning here.
I don't think so. Unfortunately.
Is it? Though?
I have given you my thoughts on this.
just
over and over and over.
All right, next one. The defense, Sean, needs Leighton Vander Esch just as much as it once needed Sean Lee.
Woo!
Because remember, it used to be when Sean Lee was out, they would instantly double the rushing yards given up. They would lose every game. And we saw last year and the year before, when Leighton would go down, they would struggle.
I'll buy it.
Buying.
I'm buying it. I don't know what Jabril Cox is still. Overshown. I know some people in the room weren't totally thrilled with where he was selected. So I don't know enough about him or Jabril. So until that gets answered, yes, they need Vander Esch's presence in the middle just as much as Sean Lee.
So, and this is not a disrespect to Leighton Vander Esch. I think
respectfully,
he had respectfully. This is one of his best years last year, but Sean Lee didn't have Micah Parsons, and Micah Parsons is a chess piece for you. I think you've got more guys on defense.
D-Ware? I'm trying to think their overlap. How much was D-Ware?
They had an overlap.
Like a year or two, but I mean, they were very different.
But my point is, I also think Dan Quinn has done a really good job of getting more out of less with some of these guys. And so I don't think you need Leighton to do as much as you needed Sean to do on that defense in order to be successful.
Yeah,
good point.
I'll sell. I mean, I think Leighton's very important, and he's one of the more important pieces on defense. But Sean Lee, it literally was like, if he's out, you're losing.
Yep.
Last one here. Buy or sell, Jane.
Is he coaching? Where's Sean?
He's probably, Napa or wherever he...
Santa Barbara is where he's got a place out there. I think when we last talked to him, he talked about just sort of needing a break, and not dissimilar from Tom Brady. Anything that he does, he wants to do it 100%.
He said one day he thought he'd get into coaching, but he has not yet.
I'd like to get him on the radio.
Last one, Jane. Sam Williams will have more sacks in 2023 than DeMarcus Lawrence.
I loved what we saw from Sam Williams last year.
Other than the penalties.
Yeah.
The roughing the passers.
But I don't think any of us expected Sam Williams to have the impact that he had last year. And as I look at this team, you've got to start thinking of the future. So I think Sam Williams is going to start getting more and more involved. And again, respectfully, that's not anything...
I'm just saying.
That has nothing to do with, I think, DeMarcus Lawrence's game is in decline. I just think as a young guy, this team is going to push for more opportunities for Sam because it's cheaper with where he's at in his career and his contract. But I think that the way they're setting up this defense, it allows for, think how many sacks a lot of these guys were able to get at the beginning of the year because you had everybody doing their job.
How many sacks did Tank have last year? Sam had 4.
I'm going to guess it was, just off the top of my head, I think it was like 5. I may be off on that, but I think that's what it was.
This was Sam's rookie season.
Let's look at it.
What's your answer to it, Bobby?
I'm going to buy. I think that Dan Quinn really likes him, and I think you saw the flashes. He'll only get better in year 2, so I'll buy that. DeMarcus Lawrence's game has not, for a few years now, mainly been about rushing the passer.
And what's his sack total from last year?
DeMarcus Lawrence had 6.
That's good.
Okay.
Six and a half is the highest sack total for DeMarcus over the last 4 years.